Radio Wave Network News.
Today I'm speaking to Max Weylandt of the Institute for Public Policy Research, who recently authored a study titled Party Funding. Morning, Max.
Morning.
In your report, you interviewed the Minister of Finance, who confirmed that political party funding will be based on 0.2% of government's projected revenue for any given financial year. According to my, which could be very flawed calculations, that means for the current financial year, political parties can expect to be given around about 134 million Namibian dollars.
Well, you're right. The calculation points towards a number that looks like that. It's interesting, though, because the law just says there's a maximum of 0.2% of the estimated revenue. And in the past, we never hit that maximum until last year, when the minister did say, like you said, now we're always going to hit that 0.2%. It appears, if you look at the budget documents for this year, that they have revised it downwards a bit to 80 million, actually. So contrary to what he said, that we'd always be at 0.2% now, it seems that because of the tight money situation, they have decreased it a little bit.
Okay. I mean, 80 million to the man on the street, that's still a lot of money.
It's a huge amount of money, and especially considering that most of it really just goes to one party, SWAPO, because it's based on how many seats the parties have. So really, most parties get 1 million or 2 million, and then the bulk of it just goes to SWAPO.
Okay. Perhaps you could explain to people out there who are possibly sitting wondering, wait, I didn't realize that I give money to political parties that I might not even support. What do the parties use that money for?
Well, they're supposed to use it for basically just running their organizations. It's quite a tough job to run a party. You're supposed to be in all the regions, so you need offices, you need to campaign, you need to go out and listen to the people about their concerns so that you can better represent them in Parliament. So in theory, that's what they should be using the money for. In practice, we don't actually know because they've never reported on how this money has been spent, and they've been receiving this funding since the late 90s.
Okay. And it doesn't get used to pay MP salaries. That's an additional income that the MP themselves get.
Yeah, they're not allowed to use state funding to pay their MPs. They can pay other staff, administrative, etc. But MPs already get a salary from the government, so it would be unreasonable for us to pay them a double salary, basically.
Now, apart from the money that they are getting now, the taxpayer money that they're getting, is there any other way that political parties can raise funds?
Yeah, they're allowed to get donations from just about anywhere. Unlike most countries international, we also allow international donations. So a couple of years ago, for example, newspapers reported that SWAPO got, I think, 200,000 or so from the Chinese Communist Party. We don't always know how much money comes in internationally, but you can get from private persons, international organizations, that's all allowed, and it happens quite frequently.
SWAPO has the Kalahari Holdings, their business arm.
Yeah.
I'm unaware of any of the other political parties having a separate business arm, but are these amounts kept separate? Is the business run separately to the money that comes from taxpayers?
They're definitely supposed to. We should also remember that these are new regulations that only came into place in 2014, and before that there was really no regulation at all, so we can't know what happened before then. But now the law is very clear. The money that you get out of the taxpayers' funds is not allowed to go to your business arm. That's separate.
Should there perhaps not be some sort of cap or a bit of a more even distribution of funds?
Yeah, probably. The problem with the current system is that it basically entrenches the status quo. Whoever's got the most votes gets the most money, and that helps them campaign, and they keep getting the most votes. At the same time, you don't want to give most of the money to parties who underperform. There's maybe a reason, maybe they're incompetent, or they just don't have that many people supporting them. So we're saying maybe a middle kind of system that 80% of the money gets shared equally, and then 20% or whatever number, you get a bonus based on your electoral performance. That would be kind of the best of both worlds. Or what we could do is what other countries do, that they don't give that much money directly, but they subsidize postage, so you can send mailers to voters, or they give you meeting spaces so that you can hold functions for free, that sort of thing. So there's other ways of helping out parties that don't involve just giving them money.
As far as accountability and transparency, you alluded to it earlier about us not really knowing how the money is spent. This is taxpayer money.
Yeah. It is, and hopefully this year that will change. The new Electoral Act does have some requirements. The parties now have to publish some assets and liability sheets. They have to also, in theory, publish some sort of an overview of the donations and that they get from private people. Although right now they're lobbying hard to be allowed to not publish the names of people who donate the money. Something which I'm not sure how they'll actually be able to do with the law as it stands. But let's see if they find a loophole.
Is that due to possible victimization that they're worried about, or?
I think that's what they'll say. And certainly it is possible that if you support some smaller party and word gets out that you support them, maybe some of your neighbors won't like you, that sort of thing. There used to be accusations when the RDP came onto the scene back in 2009 that business people in the north were being boycotted, things like that. But really, the real reason for not wanting to disclose is simply that money in politics is not a subject that the man on the streets like. And if you want to donate money to your party, it's probably because you want to buy some sort of influence, whatever party you're donating to. And nobody who's involved in that deal wants that to be public.
Now, one last question. I know you did actually ask it in your report, and whatever figure we're looking at, whether it's 134 million or only 80 million, can Namibia afford this kind of funding?
Not at a very high level, like 130 or maybe 80 million. I think especially in election years, there's an argument to be made that there should be some support to parties. They're very important for us. They're supposed to represent us citizens and give us a voice in parliament and in political structures. They don't always do that perfectly, but in order for them to have a chance to do so, they need to function as organizations and get into all the regions, talk to people. So they need some support. And it's reasonable that we give them some support, especially in election years when they're supposed to reach out to people. But the levels that we had last year and even this year are probably not sustainable, just given the tight spot that we're in.